Hello, welcome to another episode of Sewing and Scripture. We are continuing our journey through the book of Daniel, and today we are going to be covering chapters 7 and 8. Again, if you're liking these videos, be sure to hit that like button down below, that little thumbs up character down there, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, as a reminder, be sure to hit that notification bell. YouTube is not going to let you know when we're dropping new videos unless you hit that notification bell. So now we're just going to jump right into it. But first, what do we call this channel? It's called Sewing in Scripture. And again, as usual, not necessarily going to involve sewing. Projects there. I've got this project here that I'm wearing. But it doesn't necessarily have to involve sewing physically. Make sure you're sewing into people the seeds that they need to let their faith grow and to help their faith grow. It's not always about you personally making sure that that seed grows and develops. It's just about planting the seed. Just remember that. Place the seed on them and let God do the rest. You never know. God may have other people in place waiting to cultivate that for you. So go ahead and plant those seeds. Use these Bible studies, take the opportunity to share it with them, or even just get into the Bible with them yourself. So once again, let's go ahead. Into the book of Daniel. Sorry, I'm stumbling today. Into the book of Daniel. We're going to be going through chapter 7 and 8. So let's start in chapter 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream, and visions passed through his mind as he was laying in bed. He wrote down the substance of his dream. In the first year of Belshazzar. Since the death of Belshazzar is reported at the end of chapter 5, the book of Daniel is clearly not in chronological order. So if you remember, if you watched the previous video, chapter 5, it goes over how he died. Now we're in chapter 7, and why are we talking about him again? Well, obviously, book of Daniel is not in chronological order. This is true of many of the Old Testament prophets. The word dream indicates that Daniel was asleep. The word vision denotes the successive stages of what he saw in the dream. Daniel said, "In my vision at night I looked, and there before me were the four winds of heaven churning up the great sea." The great sea is going to be the Mediterranean, of course. Four great beasts, each different from the others, came up out of the sea. So the four great beasts represent four kings or kingdoms. The beasts seen here in Daniel's dream are parallel to the sections of the image seen in Nebuchadnezzar's dream in chapter 2. The first was a lion, and it had the wings of an eagle. I watched until its wings were torn off, and it was lifted from the ground so that it stood on 2 feet like a human being, and the mind of a human was given to it. So the lion represents Babylon and its most famous king, Nebuchadnezzar. The lion symbolizes the strength and power of the kingdom. The wings symbolize the swiftness of its victories, and the standing up as a man represents the humanitarian character of Nebuchadnezzar in his later years. The winged lion was the national symbol of Babylon in the days of Nebuchadnezzar. And there before me was a second beast, which looked like a bear. It was raised up on one of its sides, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. It was told, "Get up and eat your fill of flesh." The bear is a picture of Medo-Persia, the empire that succeeded Babylon as the world power. On one side refers to Persia's dominance over Media in the kingdom. The 3 ribs probably indicate 3 nations conquered by Medo-Persia in their ascendancy. That would probably include Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. After that I looked, and there before me was another beast, one that looked like a leopard, and on its back it had 4 wings like those of a bird. This beast had 4 heads, and it was given authority to rule. The leopard depicts Greece. Though naturally a swift animal, this leopard had 4 wings in addition to its native agility. This speaks of the lightning speed with which Alexander the Great conquered the ancient world. The number 4 represents the 4 generals who divided up Alexander's kingdom after his death. After that, in my vision, at night, I looked, and there before me was a fourth beast, terrifying and frightening and very powerful. It had large iron teeth. It crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. It was different from all the former beasts, and it had 10 horns. While I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up among them. The 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. This horn had eyes like the eyes of a human being and a mouth that spoke boastfully. The fourth beast is not given a name and therefore must have had the character of an unknown hideous monster. It foreshadows the Roman Empire. The 10 horns are 10 kings, and the little horn is another king who will arise after the 10 and be coexistent with them. This little horn will subdue 3 other kings and will persecute the saints. The identification of the 10 horns and the little horn has generated much discussion. The 10 kingdoms represented by the 10 horns may be the nation that will grow out of the old Roman Empire, or they may be 10 future kings who will rule over some form of a revived Roman Empire. The little horn represents the Antichrist. The parallels between this fourth beast and the beast in Revelation 13 are unavoidable. The depiction of the beast in that passage is clearly intended to depict the same individual as in Daniel's portrayal. So if you remember when we went through our series on the book of Revelation, the Antichrist and the fourth beast, or the little horn, is discussed in that chapter. Thus, Daniel gives a foreview of the work of the Antichrist in the tribulation period and states he will emerge from the remnants or revival of the Roman Empire. As I looked, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took his seat. His clothing was as white as snow, the hair of his head was white like wool. His throne was flaming with fire, and its wheels were all ablaze. The Ancient of Days is God himself. The whiteness of his garments and hair is a picture of his holiness. A river of fire was coming out from before him. Thousands upon thousands attended him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The court was seated, and the books were opened. Then I continued to watch because of the boastful words the horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain and its body destroyed and thrown into the blazing fire. The other beasts had been stripped of their authority but were allowed to live for a period of time. In my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He approached the Ancient of Days and was led into his presence. The Son of Man, who came to the Ancient of Days, is the Son of God approaching God the Father. Evidently, Jesus took the title of Son of Man, which was his favorite way of referring to himself in the Gospels, from this passage. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples of every language worshipped him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that will not pass away, and his kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. The commencement of Christ's everlasting dominion will take place at his second coming. I, Daniel, was troubled in spirit, and the visions that passed through my mind disturbed me. I approached one of those standing there and asked him the meaning of all this. So he told me and gave me the interpretation of these things. The 4 great beasts are 4 kings that will rise from the earth. But the holy people of the Most High will receive the kingdom and will possess it forever. Yes, forever and ever. Then I wanted to know the meaning of the 4th beast, which was different from all the others and most terrifying with its iron teeth and bronze claws. The beast that crushed and devoured its victims and trampled underfoot whatever was left. So I also wanted to know about the 10 horns on its head and about the other horn that came up, before which 3 of them fell. The horn that looked more imposing than the others and that had eyes and a mouth that spoke boastfully. As I watched, this horn was waging war against the holy people and defeating them, until the Ancient of Days came and pronounced judgment in favor of the holy people of the Most High, and the time came when they possessed the kingdom. He gave me this explanation. The fourth beast is a fourth kingdom that will appear on earth. It will be different from all the other kingdoms and will devour the whole earth, trampling it down and crushing it. The fourth beast, according to some critics, is not Rome, but Greece. This interpretation, based on an attempt to eliminate any supernatural prediction here, must make the second and third beasts Media and Persia. However, we see from passages like chapter 6, verse 8, that Daniel considered the Medes and Persians as one empire. The 10 horns are 10 kings who will come from this kingdom. After them, another king will arise, different from the earlier ones. He will subdue 3 kings. He will speak against the Most High and oppress his holy people and try to change the set times and the laws. The holy people will be delivered into his hands for a time, times, and a half a time. Times, times, and half a time. Us, an expression used in Daniel and in Revelation to refer to 3.5 years or 1,260 days or 42 months. But the court will sit, and his power will be taken away and completely destroyed forever. Then the sovereignty, power, and greatness of all the kingdoms under heaven will be handed over to the holy people of the Most High. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will worship and obey him. This is the end of the matter. I, Daniel, was deeply troubled by my thoughts, and my face turned pale, but I kept the matter to myself. So that was chapter 7. Now we're going to move on to chapter 8. In the 3rd year of King Belshazzar's reign, I, Daniel, had a vision after the one that had already appeared to me. So this is another vision. The rest of the book is concerned with God's program for Israel. The vision of chapter 8 came 2 years after that of chapter 7. So this is a completely new vision. In my vision, I saw myself in the citadel of Susa, in the province of Elam. In the vision, I was beside the Ulai Canal. Susa, or Shushan, was a Persian royal city about 200 miles east of Babylon, where Daniel was at the time. I looked up, and there before me was a ram with 2 horns, standing beside the canal, and the horns were long. One of the horns was longer than the other, but grew up later. The ram with 2 horns represents the kingdom of Medo-Persia. Its 2 horns represent the 2 constituent parts of the kingdom, with the higher horn portraying the dominance of Persia over Media. I watched the ram as it charged toward the west and the north and the south. No animal could stand against it, and none could rescue from its power. It did as it pleased and became great. As I was thinking about this, suddenly a goat with a prominent horn between its eyes came from the west, crossing the whole earth without touching the ground. The ram is clearly the king of Grecia, with the prominent horn representing the first king, Alexander. The fact that the goat's feet did not touch the ground symbolizes the swiftness of Alexander's conquest, as did the wings on the leopard in the previous chapter, chapter 7, verse 6. It came toward the two-horned ram I had seen standing beside the canal and charged at it in great rage. I saw it attack the ram furiously, striking the ram and shattering its 2 horns. The ram was powerless to stand against it. The goat knocked it to the ground and trampled on it, and none could rescue the ram from its power. In a series of battles over the period of 334 to 330 BC, Alexander the Great decisively destroyed Persian power and became the master of the ancient Near Eastern world. The goat became very great, but at the height of its power, the large horn was broken off, and in its place, 4 prominent horns grew up towards the 4 winds of heaven. The 4 prominent horns refers to the 4 generals who in 30 BC ruled Alexander's empire. Cassander ruled Macedonia and most of Greece. Lysimachus ruled in the various parts of Thrace and parts of Asia Minor. Seleucus held most of Syria, Israel, and Mesopotamia. Ptolemy was ruler in Egypt and parts of southern Syria. The ensuing years saw continuous power struggles in this area of the world from the successors of these generals. Out of one of them came another horn, which started small but grew in power to the south and to the east and toward the beautiful land. The little horn came out of the four horns. Most agree that this little horn can only refer to Antiochus, the fourth Epiphanes, a Seleucid ruler over Syria and Israel from 175 to 163 BC, and for a short time over Egypt. In 167 BC, Antiochus outlawed the Jewish religion, burned Jerusalem, killed multitudes of Jews, and forbade circumcision and other Jewish observances. On December 16th, 167 BC, he offered a sow on the altar outside the Jewish temple, the ultimate sacrilege to a Jew. This began the period known as the Maccabean Revolt. After 3 years of fighting, the Jews were able to restore temple worship in late 164 BC. This rededication of the temple is still commemorated today in the 8th-day Jewish holiday known as Hanukkah. Antiochus' atrocities are accurately predicted in verses 10 through 14 and 23 through 25. It grew until it reached the host of the heavens, and it threw some of the starry hosts down to the earth and trampled on them. It set itself up to be as great as the commander of the army of the Lord. It took away the daily sacrifice from the Lord, and his sanctuary as thrown down. And his sanctuary was thrown down, sorry. Because of rebellion, the Lord's people and the daily sacrifice were given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and truth was thrown to the ground. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to him, "How long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled? The vision concerning the daily sacrifice, the rebellion that causes desolation, the surrender of the sanctuary, and the trampling underfoot of the Lord's people." He said to me, "It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings. Then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated." This figure would encompass the time when the temple was desolated from December 16th, 167 BC, until early 163 BC, when all the Jewish sacrifices were restored. The latter event took place shortly after the recapture of the temple in late 164 BC. Others view 2,300 days as the entire period of time in which the temple was closed by Antiochus IV, from 170 to 164 BC. What is clear is that the prophecy was about the desecration of the Jerusalem temple during the intertestamental period. While I, Daniel, was watching the vision and trying to understand it, there before me stood one who looked like a man. And I heard a man's voice from the Uli calling, "Gabriel, tell this man the meaning of the vision." As he came near the place where I was standing, I was terrified and fell prostrate. "Son of man," he said to me, "understand that the vision concerns the time of the end." While he was speaking to me, I was in a deep sleep, with my face on the ground. Then he touched me and raised me to my feet. He said, "I'm going to tell you what will happen later in the time of wrath, because the vision concerns the appointed time to the end. The two-horned ram that you saw represents the kings of Media and Persia. The shaggy goat is the king of Greece, and the large horn between his eyes is the first king. The four horns that replace the one that was broken off represent four kingdoms that will emerge from his nation, but will not have the same power. In the latter part of their reign, when rebels have become completely wicked, a fierce-looking king, a master of intrigue, will arise. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. He will cause astounding devastation and will succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy those who are mighty, the holy people. He will cause deceit to prosper. He will consider himself superior. When they feel secure, he will destroy many and take his stand against the prince of princes. Yet he will be destroyed, but not by human power. He will take his stand against the Prince of Princes. Many believe that the description here transcends that of Antiochus alone and uses this as a type of Antichrist who will oppose Christ during the Great Tribulation. Certainly, the devious works of Antiochus and of the Antichrist is of the same heinous character. The vision of the evenings and mornings that has been given you is true, but seal up the vision, for it concerns the distant future. I, Daniel, was worn out. I lay exhausted for several days. Then I got up and went about the king's business. I was appalled by the vision. It was beyond understanding. So that is the end of our chapter for this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching these videos so far. For chapters 7 and 8 we've gone through so far on this video. But if you've missed any of the videos, you can go back all the way to the introduction video if you want to get the synopsis, all the way through chapters 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Here we are. So go ahead and share these videos with others you don't know who might need a word from God today. Also remember, be sowing into others and get into the word yourself. These videos are just to be used only as a supplemental to your own Bible study, to your own yearning and seeking of knowledge and wisdom and closeness with God. So make sure that you are getting into the word for yourself as well. So be sure to join us next week. We'll be getting into the next few chapters in the book of Daniel. And I'm glad that you're here. Go ahead and leave me a comment. Let me know that you've been here so I can respond to you. And be sure to hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. And also hit that notification bell. And we'll see you in our next video next week. Have a great and blessed day.